We'll call this meeting to order. This is the North Hudson Public Works meeting. This is our regularly scheduled May meeting. This meeting has been properly noticed, and would you call the roll? Here.
Here.
And Trustee Rhodey is excused, is not able to be with us. Indicate in the minutes that our village engineer and our public works superintendent are also in attendance. Are there any additions or corrections from the minutes of our last meeting held on 16 April? Hearing no additions or corrections, the minutes will stand approved as presented. And Kevin, I will turn it to you. Agenda item number 3, the Shopyards project. This seems to be our ongoing discussion item.
Okay.
But tonight we're up to consideration, discussion, possible recommendation on special assessments.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Daryl. What I passed out, it's a 3-page document, a memorandum from us, and basically we'll be talking about special assessments.
Do you guys have a copy of this?
Yeah. So basically we're at a point where, we're looking at doing the public hearing and generating the preliminary assessment report as part of the project for the Shopyards improvements. And at the last public informational meeting, there was obviously some concern about how those were going to be compensated, how the cost for the street portion was going to be assessed to the affected property owners. And again, 50% is going to be picked up by the village and 50% is going to be by the affected owners down in that area. And what I've tried to do is if you look at the village's assessment policy, kind of the general rule of thumb is to assess on a per linear front footage basis. But there is provisions in the assessment policy that allows the village to adjust these guidelines as to achieve a more equitable distribution. And what I've done is try to go back and look at some of the previous projects that we've done throughout the community over the past 5-10 years. Give you a kind of a scenario of what's been done in the past. St. Croix Station, both phases 1 and 2 were based on a number of units. Took the total cost divided by the parcels up there and divided it evenly. 10th Street North, pulverize and relay project. We did a per linear front footage on that project. Cratley Lane North, a number of years back, we did kind of a combination between per linear front footage, mainly for all the street reconstruction work, and the square footage of the lots was basically for the storm sewer that was installed up there. St. Croix Station North, Helen Street North, that was all based on per linear front footage. So as you can see, we've done it a number of different ways, and the policy allows for that. So
Kevin, if I can interject,
sure.
Some of those that you mentioned where it was strictly, I'll use Helen Street, St. Croix Street as an example, all those lots were the same depth.
Yep.
All those lots were virtually the same size.
Yep.
And so it was very easy to say, okay, the easiest way to do it is every lot along Helen Street from St. Croix down to the south end of St. Croix, just using that as an example, they're all 100 feet. So it made it very easy to do.
Yep.
The same with on 10th Street, all those lots basically the same size.
Yep.
Whereas when we're looking at the the Shopyards,
Yeah, they vary.
totally different scenario.
Yep.
So, excuse me, go ahead.
No, that's fine. So what I've done is looked at 3 different scenarios, and on the second page is the parcels that are going to be assessed, and then on the very last page, the 3rd page, I broke it out, all the different parcels, which is going to be a total of 9 down there. 3 of them being owned by St. Croix Ventures. And I looked at 3 different scenarios, one being on a per unit basis, take the total cost, which is half of the street reconstruction, which is going to be, estimated to be around a little over $64,000, divide that by 9, and come up with roughly $71.50 per parcel, equally amongst all of them. From there, I looked at, if we did it on a per linear front footage, you can see, they vary widely from the per unit cost. Took it one additional step from there and looked at, if we were to take the whole lot area, what that square footage would be, and come up with that scenario. So, like I said, as you can see, it can vary widely depending on which methodology is going to be chosen for the assessment report.
Well, I think without question, what we want is the process that's the fairest to everybody and makes everybody happy.
Good luck with that.
So,
Yeah,
so where do we go?
I have a question about the comparisons. Were those for water and sewer projects as well?
Typically, the sewer and water replacements, the village has a sinking fund, so that's always funded by the village. Those are like, for the curb and gutter, for the street, the street repair. Those are all items that are special assessed.
I don't think we had that set up in 2001 when we were doing the Helen and St. Croix Street projects.
I'd have to
What
look.
we got, there was also a
STP.
STP
Yep.
fund that helped pay for that, but mine, just for my 100 feet, and I'm pretty sure we didn't have the sewer and water program at that time, was over $5,000. That's what I had to pay.
The reason I ask is my perspective as a business owner. I've called the BOH Electronics, but I've only called the Donna property. Is water and sewer is what's driving this project. And no matter what the size of your lot is, linear footage, square footage, however it may be, we're all getting new water and new sewer.
Right.
And that's what's driving the project. So to me, I feel splitting it up just evenly between everybody who's getting new water and sewer is the fairest way to go, no matter what your square footage is of your lot or your linear footage. We're all getting new water and sewer, and that's ultimately what the project is about.
But the sewer and water is being covered.
Right.
Right, yeah, he's
True,
right.
he's just saying the
Yeah,
whole
he just-
scope
That's
of
what's
why
driving
we're
it.
doing
Right,
this,
right.
that's what's.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what's driving it.
Mhm.
People can debate a number of different ways to split up the asphalt. I'm looking at what's driving the project, and it's that fact that we're getting new water and sewer. We're all getting that. Granted, that cover of the cost is paid for, or that portion of the expense is paid for, but that's just one perspective on it, I guess.
So what's your perspective on if you had to pick one of these programs?
Well, you already said.
Yeah, I know. You would want to see it strictly on the basis of frontage?
Per unit, I guess it would be. Per
Right,
lot.
unit.
right.
Because we all have
Everybody
equal,
pays the same thing.
Yeah,
we all have equal access, if you will. We all drive that same replacement asphalt. He's got semi-trucks, I've got semi-trucks, one of the other property owners. But everybody's using the same road for the same purpose. So therefore, to us, it doesn't really matter what size your lot is, because that's not dependent on how much you're going to use the road or how much you should have to pay for
Have
it.
you talked to Nick about this?
Yes,
He's not in favor of that, is he?
no.
I would imagine not with his.
I mean,
situation.
let's face it, what he uses that road for is one of his two little trucks
Yeah,
and a motorcycle.
yeah.
And so he's going to be looking at this going, wait a minute, I don't have any of these big semis. I know you guys want that asphalt to be a little bit thicker than it would be on a regular city street.
No, I think we decided 3 inches
You
good.
did?
Yeah, that's
3
right.
inches will be adequate?
Yep.
So I'm just, I know Nick, since Nick isn't here, I'm kind of thinking, for him. And
But it is a commercial industrial area. He's not running a business out of there. He's running more of a hobby shop, but he could be running a revenue creating business like the rest of us are down there. It's his choice not to. If he was, I don't think the expense would be as concerning for him.
Kevin, let me put you a little bit on the cusp. And you end your cover memo after giving us information by saying, we are requesting a recommendation from the Public Works Committee. I understand that. But I think even before we get to that, the Public Works Committee is looking for at least some guidance, some direction, if not a bona fide recommendation from our village engineer, on whom we rely for not only the calculation of the special assessments, but some direction in terms of compliance with our policy and what is, in fact, fair.
I mean, originally when we looked at the project, we were going on the basis of the number of units. Because each one down in that area benefits from that road coming in and out of there.
Technically equally.
That's essentially what the gentlemen are saying.
Yeah.
That's originally how we were looking at it. And then after the last meeting, then we thought, well, we better just take it one step and look to see what, what's the ramifications of looking at for the other different scenarios. And what I tried to do is, on the bottom of the memo, just give you an idea, since St. Croix Ventures is kind of the biggest player down there, what effect would they have depending on which methodology you would use? And number of units, those 3 parcels would total $21,000, $21,440. Based on the linear front footage, 25, not a huge difference, definitely an increase. But when you look at the square footage of a lot, that's where you see, the dramatic increase.
And then mine would be opposite. So if you look at linear, because the shape of my property, it is over doubles versus the other
Right.
2As.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's so,
Yep.
I guess, like I say, what we talked about, earlier is it's a equal access. And just because he's got more frontage doesn't mean he uses more of the road or uses the road more often. Just because, Nick's got a smaller lot, he still uses the road. We all use the road. So the easiest in our minds was to divvy it equally. Everybody's got equal share, equal stake in it.
I would throw out the linear because exactly what you just said. Okay.
oh, I love to throw out the linear.
Yeah, I discard the linear as I wouldn't consider that one. So we don't, as far as I'm concerned, we don't have to debate the linear part. I'll throw that one out. For exactly the reason why when we did Station Circle,
Yep.
we divided it evenly because there were a number of lots that were corner lots.
Yep.
And some that had, extra linear footage, and they agreed as well.
Well, I think they're putting their finger on really the catalytic effect here is the fact that we're solving a couple of problems that exist down there. We've got a water quality problem because it's not looped, and we've got a freezing problem in the sanitary sewer because it's not deep enough. So not only do the current businesses and property owners down there have a problem, but it's a limiting factor to future growth and development in the area. So that's what we're looking at. As a consequence of that, we have to tear up the road. So the new road has to go in because we're solving the other problem. So I think you've put your finger on what it is that we're really doing.
Right.
And when we've all along talked about the Shopyards project, we've really not been talking about let's build a new road.
Right.
We've talked about the water and
Yep.
the sanitary sewer
Yep.
that we've got.
Yep.
That increases pressure now for sprinkling, that solves the freezing,
Yep.
and that loops the project so we've got better quality water.
And there's,
If
definitely.
there's fire at any one of our buildings, we're gonna.
You're now going to have the water
spend
pressure.
Our portion of our
Yeah.
money to have that water pressure, whether it's the smallest building or the biggest building, we're gonna be happy that water pressure is there to save us.
I did notice that you didn't put the vacant lots on the corner into the equation, on the corner of Fourth and Monroe. Across the street from SeaWorld, Kevin.
All on the north side there.
He's got the access, just because he doesn't use it, why would he be exempted?
Unless his access would come off of 4th Street. I mean, that would
His
probably
access
be,
last night was off of the, side lot. But, I mean, it's not a big deal, but technically, he's an adjoining property owner to the project. And if we're all paying a unit fee, he's got just as much access to come in off his side lot than he does off of Fourth Street.
Dan, are you talking about over by SeaWorld properties? You talking about
Across-
you're talking about the north end?
Yeah, the north side, so it would be,
Yeah.
You talking about these?
No, right here.
Oh, this one.
is Fourth, this is Monroe.
Yeah.
This is a big lot there. Like,
Like, again, not a real big deal, but if you're assessing every interested property owner, you're gonna, you know, the asphalt and water's gonna go there, or the asphalt's gonna go
Just
there.
the asphalt.
But-
the only thing there is that lot is zoned,
Residential.
if it's zoned residential, multifamily, basically, and when that house is built,
Yeah.
it will be one of the townhomes like the other ones up the line. That's the way that's plotted out, so he
Would-
will have.
Again, he's got side yard access.
Would access to that lot then be off Fourth Street?
Yeah,
That's where the garages will be.
That doesn't impact, he's not gonna be going into,
yeah.
That's why we left it off. It's considered part of that subdivision. That's the only thing that go on. There is another.
Right, 'cause he owns, his property line would go to the middle of the roadway there, correct? Or thereabouts?
I have to look, but it's
Probably,
a fair
on
assumption.
a safe bet.
Yep.
Before we would, I'm trying to get my thought process. We've had a public information hearing. We have not had a public hearing. We do need to have a public hearing on special assessments, isn't
Yep.
that correct?
Yep, and
So
that,
before we would definitively indicate this is what we're going to do, it
Yep.
needs to have a bona fide public hearing,
yep, that the village board would approve.
right?
And that would be scheduled for the next, the June, I think it's the June 3rd meeting. So this will be the base, whatever, the committee recommends, that'll be the basis for how the report's put together. And that could be all up for discussion at the village board level through the public hearing process.
And Gerald, it probably should be noted that I know there was a public information meeting in April. This afternoon, there was an opportunity for every interested landowner, property owner, to meet with Kevin and Mark.
Right.
And Caldedonna and St. Croix Ventures are the only two that did that.
St. Croix Ventures in which one?
Caldedonna beat.
Oh, yeah.
BOH.
Well, I believe I agree with my colleague on this committee that we've really only got two options that seem to make sense to me. If we throw out the linear footage, then we've got the per unit cost, or we've got the square footage of the lot. And the per unit cost, those that are in attendance are favoring that. That also seems to be the easiest to understand. Here's the project, divide it, there it is. So on that basis, and I'm just trailing this out, if we would make a recommendation, and I'm just thinking out loud here, if we would make a recommendation to the village board that that is the direction that we want to consider, and the village board then says, okay, that's what we want to consider, let's take it to public hearing. As a result of public hearing, we still could do a different approach. All we're saying is that's what we're currently favoring.
Yep.
Let's go to public hearing and
Yep.
make a bona fide decision.
That could change, and that would change at the village board level, and that would be, the final assessment report would be based on whatever the
Right.
village board decides.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
I hope that what's coming across to you guys is that we're trying to satisfy everybody. I'm parroting what you said before.
It's tough to do.
Yeah, it's a
and-
tough
That's what I said, the one that makes everybody happy.
Well, I guess our, my thought in the square footage one was probably the last one on our list as property owners, because if you take, for example, take my lot number, property address 207 Monroe Street North, take the BOH at 230 Monroe Street North. So if we did it based on square footage a lot, BOH electronics would be $6,100. My lot would be $12,000. I have 2 semi-trailers that go to that lot a day
Mhm.
and 1 part-time employee. He's got FedEx, UPS, and 15 employees that go to his lot. So where's the fairness in that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's,
yeah.
I think
Yep.
that's why we tossed that one out first, because
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how big your lot, doesn't matter how big your lot size is. It depends on what your use is. That's why when we looked at splitting it up equally, we're all using the road the same.
See,
I think
now
it
that,
comes down to what's driving the project, and it's water. and
what you just said though, that could be, not is, but that could be a bone of contention too. Again, I'm using Nick as the other end of that spectrum. Nick says I'm riding a motorcycle in and out, and you're driving semis in and out.
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
here's an 18-wheeler versus a 2-wheeler.
Agreed.
That's
That's why we just say, the easiest way to compute it is just by unit.
Well, I'm prepared to entertain a motion to recommend that we go on the per unit.
Is that your
price.
motion?
You can make it and I'll
No,
second,
you
or
just
do it the
made
other
it.
way. All right, I made it.
I'll second it.
All right.
There we go.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, same sign? Okay, carried. And that will be simply our recommendation from this committee
Yep.
to the full village board. And then as a result of that, we'll take it to a bona fide official public hearing. And then as a result of the public hearing, then we'll come up with and set the assessment policy.
Yep.
So-
Do we get notified of the public hearing?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Definitely.
And that'll probably precede the village board meeting in June, I would assume.
That'll be part of the whole, part of the whole village board. Yep.
The whole village board meeting is just a couple weeks, so what I'm looking at is, the hearing would follow wouldn't the hearing follow the board?
Well, I don't know. There's a
Usually the-
statutory requirement on the publication notice. And
Yep, it's gotta be.
I don't have those dates in mind, but,
Yep, it's already been placed in the newspaper.
okay.
Yep. So we have to get the report out to the property owners within, it has to be, no later than 10 days.
Okay.
Prior to.
Good. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
What was it Lincoln said? You can please some of the people, some of the time.
Fool some of the
Full,
people.
oh, full. Had to do with full, not pleasing. Okay.
Lincoln said you can't please all the people all the time. No, he didn't say that. I made that up. Okay, agenda item number 4, which is a drainage problem, 408 6th Street North. Seems to me that we've talked about this in the past.
Yes,
Mark, I'll turn this over to you.
Yes. Basically, this first came to us in November of 2011. The property owner, Nate St. Ors, requested to have this be put on the agenda. Then it was discussed in that time. Basically, what the problem is here is there's actually two problems. We have settlement of the sidewalk in front of his property. Actually, it's actually on both adjoining properties. It's actually on Jim Beagle's property too. As far as the sidewalk, then also the curb and gutter in that area is also settled, and that is not allowing water to. It's making it the water actually stands on the sidewalk and stands in the street instead of actually running to the catch basin
Yeah.
like it should.
We've observed it.
Basically,
I don't disagree. I don't disagree that the water stands there.
And basically, last couple of winters, at request of Public Works Committee, we've been helping Nate, taking our skid loader down there after heavy snowfalls, trying to move as much snow as we can. But this really is a safety issue. We're down there salting it, Nate salting it. Jim is clearing the snow from the area as best as he can. I guess it's the property owner's opinion, it's my opinion, and I know the village president's also come to me regarding this, asking us to find some way to, take care of this problem. What I'm looking at is, what I basically am requesting is that we, let me take some looks at the things, possibly, see if we can mud jack the sidewalk, get her back up, try to take the sag out of it, see about possibly mud jacking, or if we have to get a quote on reconstructing that curb so we can get it to flow to the catch basin. Kevin and I were talking about it. We probably also have to do a little bit of work out on the pavement, try to make sure the edge of the pavement will also allow water to flow along the curb and gutter. But I would just like to look at some different options and try to bring them back to you guys in June to see if we can take care of this problem, or at least try to relieve some of this problem.
Well, I think that's appropriate, and I guess I would specifically ask that we do have options rather than just say, here's what it would look like if we would mud jack, which may or may not be cost effective. I mean, it may be better off to reconstruct the whole thing. I'm not an engineer, so I don't know, but I'd like to have alternatives to look at.
This was, and I don't know if I know, Daryl, you've already seen this, George,
Yep.
you haven't. These are copies that we actually in November 2011, these were just some proposal what Kevin, some different options would have talked to actually reconstruct a street, curb and gutter and sidewalk in that area, and you can see it was quite expensive doing a whole
Yep.
overall construction. We are not recommending that at this time. But we do recommend trying to find some other options to see if we can take care of the problem,
Okay,
some of the problem.
that's what I'm hearing, that we want to take care of the problem. So let's figure out how to take care of it, but let's not get blinded by, let's do it this way without looking at all the ways to do it in the most cost-effective way and probably in the most permanent way.
Yep.
I don't want to fix it right now and it looks good, and then a year down the road, we're right back to the same situation.
I would concur, and I'll add this. Based on these two options, to me, there isn't a significant enough difference between option 1 and option 2. So, but the other thing I have to ask, just to make sure, because we run into problems with the state and county all the time, I want to make sure that it's okay for us to work or replace or repair the curb and gutter.
Actually, George has.
That's our responsibility.
It is ours.
Actually, yeah.
That-
The only
okay.
thing,
Just want to make sure, because we've gotten in Dutch before.
yeah, St. Croix County is responsible for maintaining the drive lanes for the state. They are contracted.
Okay.
Anything outside the drive lanes, curb and gutter, sidewalk, and outside is village responsibility.
Okay.
That's why during the winter times, when the county comes through and plows, they just plow the drive lanes. We have to plow everything.
Yep.
Curb to curb.
Yeah, I don't think there's any requirement for an action item here. I think we're in agreement. Yeah, this has gone on for
Too long.
a long enough period of time. We need to deal with it.
I'm concerned too about I picked up, I was just taking some notes while you were talking, throwing salt on this, and that's not doing any good either. That's accelerating the deterioration by throwing salt on.
Correct.
You're not gonna be able to grow
Yeah.
grass or whatever you wanna do with that.
And it is a safety issue. Nate's been having his traffic cones out there and everything else, trying to warn people just because it, even with us, put my salts we put down on everything else, you get the refreeze, it's.
Think we can get this taken care of before there's a freeze
The reason why I
again?
put the cones out there is because I was fixing the mailbox at County Head or whatever and fell off and I was hitting it, I was fixing it and people came by, I'm standing right there fixing the thing and I just got fully splashed with water. I'm like, this is enough, and I put the cone out there and sure enough, somebody just drove right over it, up the road it went or wherever, so it's just, I'm standing there fixing something, I can't believe somebody didn't see me. and-
Yep.
It happens all the time, Nate.
I understand,
I mean,
yep.
just all over my, I get it, but, I'm not-
I had a cone out in front of my house, somebody stole it.
Yeah. And I know Mark had talked about possibly I don't remember last year or maybe this year that maybe widen my driveway, I don't know. So that go to the south a little bit, widen it so then it flows back out of the drive, I don't know.
Those are different options, but like I explained to you, if we start doing anything with your driveway, then some of that cost will go back to you.
Right.
But I just think we have to look at different options and try to figure out some way to get this fixed before this coming.
Get the information upon which we can make a decision. I think what you're hearing is we're committed to fix the problem.
Is there any financial responsibility to the property owner with a repair like this?
If we actually start doing driveway approach, curb and gutter, everything else, some portions that can be assessed back to property owners.
I think
And that
they
would be
need to
something
know
as we,
ahead of time.
as we would start to do this, but we'll have to tell them is like, okay, this is what the village will pay.
That'll be part of the
at each
process
option.
when we look at the scope of the project and then in consultation and,
I just want them to be aware of this right up front.
yep. Well, like I said before, let's do something that makes everybody happy. Yeah.
That's it. I agree.
Okay. You can have some information for us by our next meeting.
I will
We're gonna do
definitely
this.
try to do
Let's-
that.
Let's get the information
Yep.
aside and do it.
And you'll send me something, Mark?
Correct. I will keep in touch with both of you.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Reimbursement to resident at 644 Lemon Street North for sewer lateral cleaning.
Okay, basically back in, you have a memo in front of you. On April 19th of 2013, resident at 644 Lemon Street North reported that he had a sewer backup, just a small one coming up the drain of his, in his basement. I think it was only that. He had Roto-Rooter come out and actually clean his lateral, thinking the problem was within his own lateral. When they got there, they actually kept having more flow back, so they went and actually popped the manhole in front of the residents, seeing that there was standing water or standing sewage in the manhole. They notified the village hall. When I got on scene, I checked other manholes in the area, requested the jetter be brought up from the wastewater treatment plant, and their personnel unplugged the village sanitary sewer. We had no other houses that were affected, basically, since their lateral must be the lowest in that area of the street. They were the first ones to get it. Good thing they were home, before this affected other residents. So basically what the homeowner's requesting, and basically what I told him is, normally under options like this, the village, he can put in a request to be reimbursed for his sewer lateral cleaning, which he did send a letter in on the 24th, requesting that, and my recommendation is that we reimburse him the $322.88 for cleaning his sewer lateral.
Would you like a motion to this effect?
I would.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that the Village of North Hudson reimburse Ed Husted of 644 Lemon Street North the sum of $322.88 for the cleaning of his sewer lateral.
Second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor of the reimbursement of the $322.88 signify by saying aye.
Actually, we're recommending that the board
Right.
recommend sending it to the board.
Right. Recommending to finance and to the board that we do this.
Yeah.
Right.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign, and that carries, and that recommendation will be made. Agenda item number 6, we are going to pull from the agenda for a future time. Agenda item number 7, purchase of new Public Works mower.
Basically, you should have another, if I can find my own, memo in front of you regarding our mower. My memo, there it goes. Sorry. Basically, the mower that we purchased back in 2002, New Holland MC22 mower. Then we purchased, like I said, in April 2002 for a cost of $14,500. Then we added a cab and snow blower to it, so total cost was $24,000. Over the past few years, the thing has been constantly in for maintenance, different other things. Last year, we actually had to replace the rear axle. We thought it was that was all needed to be fixed. Basically, what we found out over the winter time, it was nothing more than a bandage. Right now, we currently have mower is in need of approximately $13,000 worth of repairs to the four-wheel drive system, and this could possibly lead to other more expensive repairs, transmission, other things. I requested, back in 2012. We got $6,000 included in the 2013 budget to go for purchasing a new mower, actually trading in the current mower, and that was approved, and it is in this year's budget. On May 1st, 2013, I requested, after having the mower down there, to be checked out for what the problems are and everything else with the mower, and finding out it was going to be $1,300 for repairs. I requested and received the attached quote for a Grasshopper 329 zero-turn mower. That would include us trading in our mower, and with them picking up the cost of any repairs to our existing mower. Basically, you have the information, the quote, and we'll look at what the mower looks like.
You know, I say this not to be facetious at all. It's a serious question, but it's prompted by seeing Jim sitting here who has lots of mowers. Have we compared the cost of our investment in that kind of capital asset and paying employees as opposed to contracting with someone to do the mowing that we need? Have we ever done that comparison?
No, we haven't.
I know where you're coming from. It may be cheaper in the long run to hire a,
Well, that's what I'm saying.
The
I don't know if
gym,
it is or
yeah,
not. I just, you know, I,
how much acreage do we need to cut?
Well, every village has a large number of parks. I haven't actually sat down and figured out total acreage of the parks, but there's numerous number of parks in this village.
I use the term acreage just as a, instead of square footage, it makes more sense to talk about acreage. We hire part-time personnel in the summer to cut the lawns, cut the grass.
Actually, that's not true.
Well,
Actually, the lawns are actually cut. Mark Olsted does the majority of the mowing. The part-time summer help that we bring in helps do the trimming and sometimes mowing, but also works public works duties as far as street restoration, stuff like that. Majority of the mowing is done by public works full-time staff, including, and we're not just mowing parks, we're also mowing right-of-ways.
And we're also mowing properties of people who find it cheaper.
Who find it cheaper to have,
Have you
village.
guys do it than it is to hire.
do we do very much of that?
Yes, unfortunately, well, lately it's kind of slowed down, but there for a while, the village was being used as a mowing service. Until I actually jacked up the rates quite a,
Really?
It used to be
Yes.
for $50 you could get your lawn cut,
Oh, yeah,
right?
Yes.
Wasn't that the number?
yes, roughly, right around.
Go ahead, Jim.
I just want to say, I don't know if I'm totally correct, but the city of Hudson kind of went that same route.
Yep.
They farmed their lawn wing out to outside service
Yes, they did that for a
And
couple
then
of
that-
years,
and ended up coming back and doing it themselves.
yes.
I mean, I'm just,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
just
It
what
was a
I-
good thing
what
they
I
did not
see.
sell their equipment. That's where they lucked out. They put their equipment in storage and used it for mowing right of ways, just in case they decide to change their mind, which they did after a couple of years. They went back to mowing their own parks and everything else. City of Hudson.
Good
I
discussion, though.
mean,
I
it's
mean,
something to look into. I don't know all the details, but I know they farmed it out and they bring it back to their own people.
Geez, Jimmy, you just talked yourself out of a contract.
I have no time for it, so.
Okay.
I'm just telling you what I see. So
Right, right.
rather than you go through it and,
Yeah.
but anyway, something to check in.
Not arguing, I'm great. That's fine, thank you.
Right.
But I think Darrell and I are both looking at the cost of the repairs, the cost of the capital. You're not looking at investment, you're looking at a cost, and as
But
soon as you hop on it the first time, it's just dropped in value, and
No, the biggest thing I think you have to look at is that machine is 11 years old. The village got more than its useful life out of that machine, and we're actually lucky we're getting this kind of a trade-in value on that machine.
Mhm.
So
What do they do with these? They refurb them?
they'll refurbish it, and most likely it'll be sold to. They have different
Okay.
organizations that it goes to, just like the skid steers that are brought back and everything else. So.
Well, currently, we've got a machine that is costing us money. It's got some maintenance problems, and if we're going to continue to have our own equipment and mow, and the mowing needs to be done, then I guess I don't see a good alternative other than the recommendation.
If you look at our parks right now, including this one out here, you'll notice it hasn't been mowed because we do not have a machine right now to mow.
Right.
And one thing about it is if this does get moved on to village board from this committee, I have it set up that tomorrow afternoon, Mark Olsted will go pick this machine up and bring it, the new machine, here for us to use. That's already been set up with value that they say, if nothing else, if the village board decides that not to purchase it, then what they'll do is they'll just charge us rate for how much hours that we stuck on the machine.
So you
It's a
get to
rental.
test drive
It's
it.
a test drive, yeah.
Basically, that's how it's set up, because we need to get our parks mowed.
Yeah, we do.
They're in very bad shape right now.
I guess the only other obvious question then, if we do that, how will we fund it?
But, well, the only thing we have to do is our trade-in. If you look at the sheet, the value of their mower minus the trade-in value on our motor is $5,500. We currently have it in this year's budget. We have $6,000 in the budget
Oh, I didn't recall that.
to
Okay.
purchase this machine.
All right.
So actually, the extra $500 will be, because with that thing being in the parks, we'll have to have light on it, just like
Okay.
we do with our other ones.
Okay, before you say anything, Darrell, I just want to check some numbers here. So we bought, okay, so the Grasshopper that you're looking at is 14.2.
Yep.
And the New Holland was 14.5.
Yes, back in 2011.
That's what I'm looking at. So that said, that was April 2002.
Yep.
So we're talking about 11 years later, and the increase in cost turns out to be negligible.
It's basically, we're getting about the same deal as we got with the skid loader.
Okay, now I'm checking why the snow blower is tied in.
Because while the blower is tied in because it's part of the machine, and we have, you know, we went out and purchased a new blower already
Right.
through last year's money that I saved.
Yep.
So we already have a new two-stage blower. And plus, the biggest thing with this big one,
No
my
brainer.
guys were not,
I think so.
my guys were not all that happy using that large blower on that large machine. It didn't fit on the sidewalks real well compared to the two-stage we have now.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we recommend to the village board that we trade in the New Holland MC22 mower with cab and snow blower for a new 2013 Grasshopper 329 zero-turn mower, Valley implement at a cost not to exceed $5,500.
I'll second that. I'm assuming we've already discussed this. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and that carries, and we'll recommend that to Finance and Board. Agenda item number 8, purchase of new Public Works truck. Do we have anything in front of us on that?
No,
I don't
actually,
see-
what this is, because actually when I went back in 2010 to buy the 550, which is currently in the inventory, I was told that I should be coming to the village, or coming to the Public Works Committee, letting them know that I am going to be going out to get bids for a vehicle, instead of doing it the way I did, was just when I got the bids and then brought them back to you. So basically what this is for is just to let you know that I will be getting bids.
Which vehicle are we talking about then?
This West truck will be replacing the truck that's sitting on it right here right now, the 2001 F-250 will be the truck that I'm
Okay,
looking to replace.
all right.
Is this giving you trouble?
No, basically the truck is a 2001. It's been used for plowing the house. She's making some transmission noises. It goes through basically a quart of oil a month. And
Oil's cheap compared to.
yeah, but the thing is, one of these times it's going to go out snow plowing and it's not going to come back. And right now we're better off trying to sell her or trade her off now than we are, you know. And currently in our
So what you're indicating is on the 2001, you want to go out and get some bids to replace that and bring them for consideration?
yes, for the June Public Works.
Okay, I think that's fine. We'll make a decision then, get the bids. Kevin, anything more to report?
Just quickly, just some additional information on the shop yards project.
Just wondering, do you feel necessary to sit so far away from us? We ain't gonna bite.
I've always wondered about that.
You gotta ask him, yeah. Is it so
Considerable.
he thinks we can't hit him with something from here?
I think it's just because normally if it's, most of the time these chairs in here, you know, and they kind of get, everybody gets more space, you know?
You're gonna have to yell.
Yeah.
What more have you got, sir?
Just quickly, shop yards project, as St. Croix Ventures and BOH had mentioned, we did have a meeting here this afternoon with them. We're in the process of acquiring the necessary water and sewer easements.
Has anyone had a problem with the exchanging of the easements?
These two folks look pretty promising. They just have to forward it off to their principal partner, but it sounds like they're definitely in agreement for signing off on those easements. There are 4 additional ones that we're going to need to get. Mark and I are going to try to contact those folks directly, maybe within the next week or two, and try to set up a meeting with them just to go over these, because these definitely are something that we want to try to get up before the project actually is bid out. So we know.
Well, I agree with that, but I mean, I can't see from a practical standpoint why anyone would object to the new easement.
They shouldn't. Yeah, because there's already existing easements in there.
Right.
In place.
And that one goes away, and then there's a new easement.
Yep. So definitely we want to have these signed off before we release the old one.
Okay.
Was John Schomer representing St. Croix Ventures? And
Correct. He was
He
here.
was here.
Yeah, there's
I know he was.
Yeah.
That's why I wondered.
He was here just, and plus
So he
we're,
still has a,
yeah.
an interest
Yes,
Correct.
some partnership.
plus
in it.
we're actually here because he even told me there's some about, well, he told Kevin and I about some stuff that's underground near their buildings that we did not know that were there. So it's actually.
I mean, other than railroad.
No, actually, I guess I knew there was a private,
Better not be
storm,
called buried fuel tank.
private storm sewer in the south end of it. I did not know that it went all the way to the north along the front of those buildings. And so there is a 48-inch
Storm
old
sewer.
private clay tile storm sewer that's gonna have to be taken out
Yeah.
as we're doing the project. So Kevin's gonna have to include that into his bid packet.
But a clay pipe
Just
is
take it out.
easy to
It'll
take
collapse.
out.
Most of it's probably gonna
It's
fall apart.
collapsed anyway.
Yeah, when we start
No.
digging next to it,
Definitely
it's probably
not
gonna fall
replacing
apart. But
Yeah.
it's just something else that we didn't know was there. So.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then the other thing that we discussed is the old rails that are down there. St. Croix Ventures has an interest in actually taking those, salvaging them, and then stockpile them on their property. So just so you're aware, that's the way the bid will be set up. The contractor will be responsible for taking them out and stockpile them in a.
Do they have a sense that they own them already?
Yep. I mean, it is on their property, so technically it
Okay, so
is.
St. Croix Ventures is saying the ones on their property.
Right.
They weren't saying all of them that are dug up.
The majority of them is on St. Croix Ventures property.
There is some
On the
that were on
surface,
private
I don't object to that. On the surface, I understand all that. What bothers me a little bit is that now we're going to have another pile of junk. I would agree if we could work in some sort of a proviso where they have so many months
Oh, sure.
to get rid of them, so that we don't have the eyesore that we have set up down there now, and you know which one I'm talking about, all those burned timbers. It's a hazard. It's a physical hazard as well as an eyesore. Now, I'm just throwing out, this is my opinion on this, and Darrell might have a contrary opinion. But I look around those shop yards and I think about what they could look like. And it just saddens me to see what could be a
Well,
beautiful
probably not
spot.
only could be, but should be. I mean, it is
Yeah.
on the National Historic Register, and we probably ought to
Well,
recognize that we've got
we
an
have to be
asset there that's.
Careful how we push that. We may be getting ourselves into a little trouble, but as far as just cleaning up the properties, it's one of these, come on, guys, show some pride in the properties that you own.
Yeah, but I'm saying it is what it is. It already is on the National Register of Historic Places.
Yeah.
Man, I look at some of the doors and, never mind, I said my piece on that.
Just back to the rails for just a second, and let's
Sure.
just think out loud a little
Yeah.
bit. I guess if I was St. Croix Ventures, I would say that same thing. Those are mine because they're buried on my property, but if you step back and take a real deep breath, those rails were there as part of the fact that that was the shop yards.
Mhm.
So those rails have been there for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And it would seem to me that in the big picture, we ought to consider at least the possibility that as we do the project and we dig up buried rails, and those rails could be salvaged and sold for scrap by the village, reducing the cost of the project, it benefits
Everybody.
all the owners down there because we were able to realize the value of fill in the blank, whatever, and it reduces the cost of the project.
Yeah. I mean, it is private property. I guess we probably would want to have the village attorney's opinion on something like that to see if the village
Well,
would
I'm not
have.
pounding the table, I'm just
Yeah.
thinking out loud.
I'll think out loud then too. I'll put myself in Mr. Harvey's shoes here for just a moment. I purchased that property and everything that was on it and under it.
Mineral rights.
Yeah, not going that far. Mineral, that's right. The rails are mineral.
Yeah.
But as I look at that, I would say if I owned St. Croix Ventures, I'd say I bought the property and everything that's on and under it. That's just, I'm
I understand.
simply showing you.
I understand.
And then I look at the pictures up here on our quilt, and I go, It would be nice if somehow those rails might be able to be used in a decorative way somehow. Not all of them, of course, but just to help commemorate the history of the place.
Yep.
All right. What else you got?
That's it. That's all I
You know, a
have.
piece of rail makes a nice anvil. I've got a piece of rail
I
about
do
this,
too.
about this long.
Yeah.
Every year in the Dickens.
Oh,
Makes a nice
mine's
little anvil.
mine's a lot shorter, but I use it as a doorstop. I hammer on it.
Yeah.
That sucker won't break.
Anything more?
Nope, that's it.
We do know that rails split.
Different rails. Mark?
No, I'm thinking of the rails in Connecticut. Caused that big train wreck. A rail broke.
Split or bend?
Broke.
Yeah, so it's broke, what they're saying.
And it caused the two trains to.
Lucky more people didn't get hurt in that one.
Mark?
I have nothing else to report.
And with that, our agenda is concluded.
Can I ask something? I have an envelope here. This is from St. Croix EMS. I got a meeting. I got this last week, and I got a meeting with them tomorrow, and everything that we're going to talk about is in this envelope. And I would really like if I could see some of this stuff
Yeah, I was gonna try to get it out. but
beforehand.
We discussed that before. I was gonna try to get it out to you, but there's just so much stuff I didn't have. Actually, I was waiting for another,
We normally try and do that.
Okay.
trying to get a quote out, but I didn't.
And with that, our agenda is concluded, and we're adjourned.
Oh.